Alright, hello, my name's Ned, and this is the second episode of a series I called Ned's Declassified League Survival Guide. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about objective control around Baron and maybe a little bit Dragon, and when it's correct to fight the enemies, flight, which means run away from the objective, and when it's correct to smite, as you can see from the title. To start the video off, I'm going to do an anecdote about Twisted Treeline. It was a long time ago, and I had an argument with a teammate. But I think this argument, even though I was probably immature to even engage with it in the first place, was it's beneficial in a learning experience for the video. So I'll embarrass myself by telling it, and hopefully you learn something. And then we'll get into this notepad test that I have here, so you can read that through while you're listening to the story and think about it while you're listening. Okay, so playing Twisted Treeline, we're ahead in gold and objectives and experience. We're the stronger team. We're taking the objective. I think it was still the spider at that point, but I don't really remember. Twisted Treeline has gone through a couple updates, and this was a long time ago. And we're taking the spider, and a little bit, like maybe halfway through, two of the three enemy players show up. And I ping, hey, let's kill him. We have the number advantage. I can't type this, obviously, it's in the middle of the fight, but that's what I'm thinking. When I'm pinging them, I'm thinking we have the number advantage. 3v2, we're stronger than them. We can kill them and then take the spider afterwards. So me and one of my teammates, we start hitting them. We start smacking them. We start trying to kill the enemies. The third teammate remains hitting the spider. And so what ends up happening is the third enemy shows up, and we get aced, and they take the spider. And then after that, my teammate who continued to hit the spider, he goes, hey, why'd you guys just not finish the spider? I go, well, dude, because it's clearly better to fight them there. And he goes, no, I wanted the gold from the spider. And I go, yeah, but you don't understand. And if we would have fought them, best case scenario is we ace them, we take the spider. Worst case scenario is we lose, maybe we get two of our people killed, we get them really low, and then they have to recall because they're not healthy enough to take the spider, and we just lost the fight. And what you're proposing when we're taking the spider, best case scenario is you win the 50-50 smite fight. Then we maybe fight them and get a 2-for-2 trade because we're low from taking the spider. Worst case scenario is they ace us because we're taking all the damage from the spider. They get the spider afterwards, and then they win the game because they've aced us and they've taken the basically Baron of Twisted Treeline, which is a recipe for disaster. So, that sort of thinking led me to wonder how many other people are as illogical as this guy, where they don't see the bigger picture of how it's important sometimes to kill enemies and then take the objectives rather than trying to get the objectives, and what sort of times are the best to do which option, fight, flight, or smite. So without further ado, I'll get into this test and I'll explain my reasoning as to which answer I pick. And sometimes the answers might surprise you, so let's get into it. So the first one, when your team has almost taken Baron and you can burst it down before the enemy team arrives. Now, I hope that this one is pretty clear to most people. If you're going to be able to take the objective before the enemy team gets there, then it should be obvious you smite it. And you finish it, and then afterwards, depending on your health, you can make a judgment call whether you want to continue to fight them, push down objectives, recall buy, and then push down objectives, but that's not what we're talking about right here. We're talking about the act of taking the objective and how to play around it. So, easy. Second one, you just started Baron, there's a whole enemy team about to engage on you. This one should also be easy, and really the answer should be dependent on two factors. The answer should never be smite. Bad, do not try to take the Baron when this is the case scenario. If you're stronger than them, you haven't taken too much damage from Baron, it works perfectly. You're going to fight them, you're going to bait it out, you might win the fight so heavily that you can continue to take the Baron afterwards, kill it, and then you have this huge advantage spiraled because you're just snowballing your advantages. If you're weaker than them, maybe same power level, and maybe you're not taking too much damage from Baron, but you're still going to be taking some. You might have used some abilities on it. You're going to want to run away, flight, pick B, option B. So Also pretty straightforward here, right? Just depending on how strong your team is, you're either going to pick A or B. Next one. When you're taking Baron and the enemy team has a couple of enemies that can contest, but the other members of the enemy team are unable to join the fight, whether that be because they're dead or because they're in the bot lane and they were stupid and weren't near the next objective that's going to be contested. So this one is a little bit iffy, and on this one it's a kind of a trick question because I honestly think the best option is option D, which is have your tank or whoever has the CC, or maybe like a mid laner that has a lot of CC like a V-Guard but can't do a lot of DPS to the Baron, zone the enemies out and then Smite the Baron. Because in that case scenario, you can get the Baron without losing any teammates really safely if you just send one of your members to zone them. But there is the second option, which is just fight them. Just turn off the Baron, take the 2 free kills because it's a 5v2 or maybe it's 5v3, but you can still get the kills. And then, provided you're healthy enough, you can always go back to the Baron again. Now this next one is where it gets really, people panic and they don't really know what to do. You are just under halfway done with Baron and your team has taken damage. You spot the enemy team coming to contest via a ward. What do you do then? So you're taking the Baron. You see those enemies are running down to the Baron. Maybe you're on the blue side, they're on the red side, they're coming down. And you spot them on a ward. And you're only about halfway done with Baron. And you've taken some damage. So you're not really sure whether you should fight them or you should try to finish the Baron down, or you should try a runaway. And this one is it's the most ambiguous of them all because it really depends on a few factors. The first one being how strong the teams are. I talked about that. How strong are the teams? And if you're stronger, if you haven't taken too much damage, obviously you're going to fight them. If you're not stronger, then really you have to make the judgment call on whether or not you can do the damage to the Baron quickly enough before they can get in, which usually the answer is going to be no. Or you can run away and let the Baron regen. And typically I'd always it's smarter to go with flight on this scenario. Option B, because if you do decide to burst it down and you're wrong, then it's a disaster. They get the Baron, maybe they even kill a couple of your team members. But if you can't burst it down and you run away, or even if you can burst it down and you run away, the worst case scenario is that the Baron regens and then they'll try and fight it. Maybe they'll get low health and you can fight them then. It resets everything and maybe puts you in an advantageous situation at best. So I think with that I've outlined a lot of the pivotal scenarios that a team could face when they're taking an important objective like Baron, or this applies to Elder Dragon too. And hopefully you guys won't be like that guy in my Twisted Treeline game who just refuses to see the logic of why it's better to fight the enemies when they come in rather than try to finish the dragon that's not even close to being done, or the spider that's not even close to being done. But with that, I think I'll leave you. Goodbye.